This PSA was brought to you by the Peter G Show.
You may have second thoughts after the show.
Don't drink the faucet. We're really talented. We should get Oscars.
Just pick out a car, for Christ's sake.
No, hi, my name is Peter. Yeah, I want. Here's good.
Yeah.
Madam Perry.
I need to get back in the genie bottle.
Louis from Pennsylvania, you're on. He likes it. It's showtime.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, divorced dad, single dad, divorced dad, single dad, Peter G Show.
That's right, it's showtime, and I'm scrambling as usual, but it's a good scramble. How the hell is it, everybody? It is showtime. It is Wednesday, August the 6th. August. Repeat after me. It's August already. However, we have a great show for you tonight. I don't know if who tuned in last week, who was able to see the show that I spoke about my beloved California and how it's going to hell. I do like California. You know, I mean, people can make fun of it, but it's a great place to live when it was a great place to live. The weather's awesome. Hardly any mosquitoes, and you get pissed off when a fly is in the house. It's like, what can I tell you? And that's very rare. But, you know, the weather, it's 80 degrees in the daytime, Southern California, that is, and then it's 60 degrees at night. You're wearing a leather jacket. You know, it's just the way California's designed, and that's what has made California so attractive. The entertainment industry used to be thriving. There used to be all these things that used to be. And now it's, you know, I can't put it any, you know, more lightly than our governor has been a wrecking ball, and I don't understand it, but it sucks. However, I will talk about it to bring it to most people's attention, because a lot of people don't know. Not everybody knows every governor of every state. I don't, you know, but it's a big one, and he's a slithery snake, and I'm going to talk about it, and I did. However, we were talking about the wildfires last week, about the ones in Maui. We'll be talking about that too. The ones in Pacific Palisades, Malibu area, and Altadena, California. And I spoke about all the things that are going wrong over there, and the corruption already, and the dream, the reimagine, you know, the same old bullshit, same old story, different location. Well, it just happened to be the 8th, which is 2 days from now, which will be the 2-year anniversary of the Maui Lahaina fires. For those of you who are familiar with me, I've done a handful of shows on those fires because I knew from the get-go, and I don't even live there, but just by looking at it, doing enough snooping around and just seeing that things were not right. And it was a catastrophe, and people died, and people lost everything. Again, same scenario, different location. And then we're going to reimagine everything. Smart city, blah, blah, blah. And these people are hurting. Well, tonight we're going to talk about the 2-year. We're going to revisit the Malibu Lahaina fires. And I have 2 island locals. One who was on last year, Paul Deslauriers from the Maui Community Investigations. He has a website because they are concerned about their community and they know what's going on over there. And I'm lucky enough to have another island local who is well loved over there, a medicine man, healer, Spice Prince, who's going to come on and talk about a few things. I'm going to have him walk me through that night of him escaping that madness. And that's what we're going to do tonight, because I don't want people to forget, because these things are happening all over the country. The flood in Texas, that the water rose more than it's ever. It's a coincidence. How are these things happening now? A lot of people are going to say, well, dude, it just happened. It's the weather and climate change and all that. I call bullshit. The North Carolina floods that they've never had. weather manipulation, cloud seeding, all that kind of stuff. It exists, people. I need you guys to open your minds and really start to say that we don't live in the world that we used to in the 70s. And even then, they were working on that stuff, but things have gotten rough. That's what we're talking about tonight. So you're going to enjoy this show. It is going to be truly an eye-opening show once again, but I just don't want people to forget, because while we're all going about our business in other parts of the country and the world, there's still people from 2 years ago that have never bounced back from losing everything and still have a long way to go. So I don't have, I'm not rich. I can't fix the world, but I can bring it to your attention to where you start, thinking a little bit more, because again, if it doesn't affect you, you probably don't pay as much attention, but thank your God that it hasn't affected you, because it can. You just don't know. So that's what's happening tonight. All right. What else are we doing? Also, next week is show number 300 of the live series. Again, we have over 400 shows. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, our first comment, and I'm going to show it. Doug Roberts. Good evening, Peter G. Hello, Doug Roberts. Thank you, man. Thank you for tuning in. I don't get a lot of people that comment. I mean, I just don't. I don't know. I have the greatest crowd of lurkers. But when you do, I truly appreciate it. And if I can, I will get to it. In fact, next week, that's what I was just ready to start talking about. Next week, it's our 300th anniversary live show. That was when we started multi-streaming and blah, blah, blah. The first 100 and something shows, so we were just throwing them up there and putting them out. But then we started keeping track and counting. And it's going to be the 300th show of sitting here like this, doing this for you, which I love. And I think next week I'm going to have viewer appreciation night, where I'm just going to open up the phone. And if you want to call in, we can talk about anything, your relationship. Thank you, Peter. Peter, you suck. Heard a lot of that lately. Anything you want to talk about, whatever's on your mind, if you want to talk about, and or if you write a comment, because if you're watching from the live YouTube, which is hard to watch when they throttle you down and shadow ban you. But if you're watching from YouTube, just as Steve B is watching from YouTube, hello, Steve B. He comments a good bit, and thank you. I appreciate that. But it's hard on YouTube. Again, they punish me tremendously. But if you are watching from YouTube, you can comment just like Steve B did. Or if you're watching from the official Peter G Show page on Facebook, you can comment just like Doug did. And that's a cool thing. Even LinkedIn as well. You can comment from LinkedIn. But those three places, you can comment live. I can actually see your comments. If you're watching from the other Facebook pages and you're watching from any of the other platforms while we're live, you can comment, but I won't be able to see them. But that's what we're doing next week. It's going to be the 300th show, and I'm kind of proud of it. I mean, it's hard work, believe it or not. Sitting here for this hour plus is the easiest part of the whole show. It's everything before, during, and after. So please join me next week. And as a reminder, as I was just, bagging on, what YouTube does to me, please, 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 if you want to help me out, subscribe to the YouTube, the official Peter G Show page. Or if you're watching from Facebook, go to the official Peter G Show page on Facebook and follow, like, whatever it is, and share. Sharing is the difference, because if they're not letting me be seen, how can you either love me or hate me? Come on, right there. And even David says 300. That's right. Hard to believe, isn't it, David? It's come a long way from the old days. Anyway, there we go. 300. Glad you're awake. And so that's what we're doing next week. Please subscribe. And don't forget, I do know it takes a whole lot to dedicate yourself to sit down and watch an hour-plus show. I get it. You got to have time, or you make the time. But don't forget, after the show is over live, you can pull it up on demand anytime you want. And especially if you spend a lot of time commuting in the car, David, you can always pull it up on podcast, and it's on 26 different platforms, your Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, you name it. Pull up the Peter G Show, just Google Peter G Show podcast. The audio version comes up there, and you can listen to it on the go. Put an earbud in your ear, listen to it through your car speakers while you're exercising, walking, while you're at work, because work is boring. Easy breezy. Just do that. It's the next best thing to be in there. I try to make my shows most of the time audio relatable. Like, I'm a very visual guy. I like using videos and things like that, but I still say that when you listen to it, it translates very well. You're not missing a whole lot. Sometimes I'm doing something that you really need to see, but you'll live. You know, what are the odds? And that's what I got to say about that. So it's all good, but I appreciate everybody who's tuning in and commenting, and that's how you do it. We are going to be bringing on my guests one at a time, and then there we go again. What's going on? Yeah, I look older now. I do. You've aged me. It's like I do. No doubt about that. We've been on the air a long time, since the 40s. I cannot tell a lie. Anyway, so here we go. Listen, we're going to bring on my guests in just a few minutes. I need to hear and want to hear from my good friends over at Clean Star Products with their money-saving fuel additive DX1 drivers. So don't go away. I'll be right back in a minute, all right?
Hello, it's Tyrone Thompson here with Clean Star Products, and we're here with William.
High-end car service.
And we've just serviced his Cadillac Escalade 2024. And we're going to be giving it a go to see what kind of results he'll be getting in his fuel mileage and any performance differences, and be checking with him later.
All right.
Thank you, William, for participating in our environmental program. We're here with High-End Car Services, my friend William, who's been using DX1 for a small time now. What kind of results have you been getting?
Up to 45.1 miles per gallon best results, and the engine has been quieter, and I can definitely feel the power in the engine. I have a diesel.
Thank you so much. We're going to keep going with the program and check in with you later. We appreciate you. The Long Life Engine Program with DX1 Driver is the only safe environmental product for your high mileage engine. DX1 is a non-toxic, clean-burning oil that goes into your fuel and your engine oil, providing lubricity for gasoline and diesel engines. You save on average 10% gasoline and 15% diesel fuel consumption. Call now for a price quote and place your order today. It's the Long Life Engine Program from Clean Star Products and Tyrone Thompson.
That's right. Listen, all I can tell you about Tyrone Thompson with their DX1 driver is 2 words. It works. Peace sign. It does work. I wouldn't have believed it. I told them, I said, I got to try it. I will not do it, talk about it unless I try it. I tried it. I noticed a difference within about 3 tankfuls of fuel that my V8 gas guzzling high mileage vehicle started running a lot better. I didn't have to step on it as much. I did get better gas mileage because I didn't have to step on it as much. My daughter noticed the difference because she's a horse girl and she sometimes has to borrow it to go get some extra hay. Hey. It's a joke. Anyway, but she does, and she knows the difference. But it's simple. It's so friggin' simple. It's like this little bitty bottle right here. This bottle takes care of a 4-door average sedan. Okay, if you have a bigger SUV or pickup or something with a V8, it's about twice this much. So it's a little bit bigger of a bottle. You pour one of these in a clean oil change, lasts the whole oil change. So it's that 5,000 miles on average. If you own a Mercedes or something like that, you own a Mercedes, it's about 10,000 miles. And then you just put one of these babies in every tank of fuel. When you go to fill up, you pour this down and fill up your tank and just drive. It's simple. But don't believe me. Don't believe me. Don't believe me. If you have questions, which I hope you will, I want you to go to www.cleanstarproducts. There's a number right there. I'm putting it at the bottom of the screen right there for you to call them. They'll answer your questions personally. 310-200-8931. You may even talk to Ty himself. They have a product that works. They're proud of it, and I wouldn't talk about it if it didn't. But again, if you talk to them, and should you get all your answers answered, and you want to order, here's the kicker. Say that you saw it on the Peter G Show, and they will send you 5 bottles for the price of 4. Right, David? 5 bottles for the price of 4. Now, why is that important? It's important because that's a great starter kit, in my opinion. Put one of those bottles in the clean oil change, and that gives you 4 full tanks of fuel to drop that into your fuel tank to pretty much get everything start back up to par. Good food, good body. It's just the basic same thing. You know, it's take care of your car. Cars are expensive. I can't stand paying for cars anymore. I really can't. I'm so over it. But you got to have them. And it's important, and nobody wants to break down. So try it. Go to the call them at that number. Talk to them. If you like what you're hearing, order it. But please mention you saw it on the Peter G Show, all right? Because you will get 5 bottles for the price of 4. They're good people, and they have a product that works. And more importantly, they know what I do, and they still sponsor me. So yay, yay. It's all. Yay. Okay. Yep. All right. Now, before we get going, I have Spice Prince sitting in the background, waiting on me. But first, a sip. Here's to everything we do, and thank you all for watching. And especially tonight, again, we're remembering the 2-year anniversary. I don't want people to forget this stuff. You know, again, it may not have affected you personally, but you can't even imagine what they went through and are still going through. So here's to them and the ones that were lost and all of that stuff. It sucks. We're not going to have a downer show. It's an awareness show. I'm bringing this for your own, so you'll understand the depth of what's going on over there. And it still smells rotten as hell to me, but that's for you to decide. So here you go. Ooh, smooth. It's tasty tonight. All right. So as promised, I have 2 guests. I'm bringing one on right now, and he's a new friend to the show. And we had a little bit of a talk late last night, and I can tell that he's going to be bringing some pretty heartfelt information and stories about, you know, what was going on over there. So let me see if I get this right. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, from the island of Maui, and we'll let him describe himself, but he's a medicine man, a healer. He's got many talents, and he's well respected over there, and he's going to share his story right here on this show. So, ladies and gentlemen, from the island of Maui in Lahaina. Oops, wrong one. Ladies and gentlemen. Spice Prince.
Hello.
Sorry, I got butterfingered, and you got the whistle.
Yeah, the grand entrance. I wasn't expecting, but thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And aloha to everybody from Maui. Beautiful day here. Warm, very warm today. And so, but yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's all good. It's all good. Hey, let's just say real quick, hey to Big Gus. He's giving us the arm. Big Gus, whoever Big Gus is. Hey, right on, Big Gus. Thanks for watching. Okay, so I was turned on to you from Paul, who spoke very highly of you and said, you know, you're very, you have your finger on the pulse over there. How many years have you been on that island?
Wow, that's a huge question. I came over from the Big Island, but that was after I left, your first girlfriend kind of episode. And then you just like, I'm out of here. And then I went to the Caribbean for a while. I got stuck in Florida, which had its purpose. And then I was like, I'm going home back to the islands. And then I came to Maui. So I want to say about 35 years, give or take, maybe more, I think. And, serving the community, but with what I do with my work and, Lahaina, but also like all the islands and globally. I mean, I mail stuff all over, and I've had the blessed opportunity to actually work on doctors and pharmacists of 40 years when I was really young and world title athletes. And so, yeah, I had my feet planted in the heart of Lahaina for many, many years.
Why don't you, let me backtrack one step because I normally ask this first, but why don't you give everybody a brief synopsis of who you are and what you do to give them just a roundabout of what's going on in your life?
Okay. As far as prior to the fire.
Who you are, exactly.
Yeah. So my first name is Spice. I know it's a unique name. I get questioned on it all the time, especially when traveling. And then my last name is Prince. I'm my mom's side is First Nation, and my dad's side is Welsh, and that's where I originally Prince. My last name is Welsh, and so And I learned, I had a very unique upbringing with learning natural medicines and kind of a spiritual life growing up with just, I would say, definitely not hippie, but like just being very connected to earth and utilization of things. And that included hunting, fishing, and then a lot of people would say survival, but for us, it was just normal, everyday kind of thing. Grew up no power, and that was really unique. I've never had power until I got placed into this FEMA housing, and it was kind of weird for me. It's different, I won't complain, but there is something to be said about going home and like you just have candles and propane and you cook with fire and propane and there's a magic to it, and that kind of gets drowned out that you don't really recognize until then. And I've also noticed because of that transition that like I meditate every morning from 5 to 7. If I can go till longer, I go longer, but it's like I didn't have to meditate as much when I was where I was living in the mountains and surrounded by nature all the time. So I feel like that grounded you out. So yeah. And so as far as my work goes, I went to school for fashion. I'm a fashion designer by school. I paid my way through school doing psychic readings. So I'm super intuitive. My job, it sounds crazy. Hopefully it'll be the norm one day. My job was literally communicating with plants for giant biopharma company, like multi-billion-dollar companies, and they flew me all over the world. They sent stuff to me. I've worked with more than 11,000 plants, and it's just a really unique life. And what I would do is I would sit with a plant, basically like I'm sitting with you, and I could go beyond chemical analysis, chemical constituents, and figure out the actual utilization of a plant. And then I would train crews how to harvest sustainably. And I put the company under contract that had to buy from me. So that was a unique part of my world. But then people come to me with whatever basic issue from, warts to, the disease that shut the world down, which is actually one of the easiest things I've ever worked with in my life. I knocked it out of people overnight that were in their deathbed. It was literally that easy. Got their smell and taste back. People that had lost smell and taste a year and a half, 2 years later, still got their smell and taste back, until my lab got taken in the fire. And so, but then, yeah, I do a lot of different things. I'm a perfumer, which is kind of my favorite passion. 35 years, I had tiny little bottles that were worth thousands of dollars. They were lost in the fire, stuff that's extinct and it's completely gone forever. I hand make bow and arrows, music, and I do a lot of different things in one day. I had a clothing line. I had an herbal product line, my clothing line since I was at least 16 years old. An herbal product line that came about after proving itself over 25 years. And then those products that just consistently helped people with whatever that issue may have been just became a product, and all that's gone. So yeah, that's just a little in a nutshell of my world.
Let me ask you then, how did people know to start coming to you? And where your shop was up in the mountains as well, or down, closer to mainland? I mean, not mainland, but, floor level.
In town, you mean? So yeah. It's always word of mouth, because I know that my job and my style of healing, like another thing, I this even sounds crazier, but hopefully it makes sense. And I'm about to do a really amazing show with some people on the topic, and it's basically the topic's the battle of light and dark. And so I'm the perfect person to educate on that. So I used to get flown all over, and I got really burned out. So I have a gift, and I blow on your forehead, and you go into visions, and all it's really doing is clearing out thought. Okay. Most people, because of science and what we were taught growing up, calculate or equivalent like that we think from here, from our mind. Your brain is your motor. That's your motor, and you actually think from your whole body. And your thoughts is going to be one of two things, positive or negative. All right. And so if me and you are brothers and we get in an argument and there's an issue created and you get pissed off, you got to think about it. I don't actually piss you off. You open yourself up and allow that to come through. And that negativity is going to stick to you on the right side. If you are a female, it would go to your left side. And so that work that I did, it was incredible. I'd watch people just coming in like the Hunchback of Notre Dame and then float out the door. And they'd go into these incredible visions. And it sucks because I had file cabinets and file cabinets full of all this vision work with people. And to just kind of give me a deeper understanding of what we are really about and the magic that we all are. And so that I feel that's waiting to happen. We're like right there. And it's just the magic's right in front of us to kind of step more into who we are. And so, so back to your question.
It was, I just want to know how people knew to come to you.
It was, with my work being so unique and so different, and there's always word of mouth. I mean, I've traveled the world. I mean, I've stayed with headhunters. I've lived in termite mounds with Aborigines. I've done the Amazon 8 times. I have been everywhere, and I'd have people call me from places I was like, where is this? And so it was just word of mouth, which I feel was the best advertising, because someone's going to actually experience and watch someone change and be like, dude, what are you doing? You look different. You look great. Yeah. And they're like, oh, my problem that I dealt with is I don't deal with it anymore. And so people would just find me. So when I first got to Maui, I lived in a tent for 5 years and I loved it. And it's actually my preferred kind of existence, to be honest. You're under the stars. You got the birds and the wind, and I just prefer that. I'm happier that way. And then I had a shop, and it was amazing. Just to let you know, like a lot of people think Maui's expensive. My shop was $187.50 a month, and it was amazing. And that was in the heart of Lahaina, and that was like 13 years. Then I moved it over to an area that was like this, what we call like an ohana, like just big family, a hui, and I had a retail store for my clothing, and I had my medicine lab upstairs and my perfumery. And then eventually that whole building kind of went sour, so to speak, and I moved it up to my shack in the mountains. And I was there for 25 years. And then I came down to Lahaina, unfortunate loss of the property through the people that owned it. And so then I was on the ocean in a wonderful Tahitian family's house, and I had my medicine lab. Like, you couldn't have been any deeper in the heart of Lahaina, especially from the fire. Like, there was 2 areas. There was Lahaina Luna all the way over to me, and that was like the concentrated, gnarliest place to be during the entire thing. So yeah, people would find me word of mouth. I didn't I'd be 6 months to a year and a half for me to work with you. So I was doing something right, or I was really good at bullshitting people. And, but yeah, I helped a lot of people and met some amazing people along the way.
This is a picture of a portion of your shop. I mean, to me, when you first sent this to me and I'm looking at it, it reminded me when I used to go back in the day when you could go to San Francisco, when you walked into some of these old Chinese, herbal shops, the old ancient, healing, and they just had everything. It kind of reminded me very much of that, in a different manner. But that was part of your whole thing right there, right?
Yeah. So to the right with the little brown amber bottles, those are frequencies. Some of them are entheogens. And so for those of you who don't know what an entheogen is, that's like a kind of a spiritual plant. Most people would call them hallucinogenic, but they're not if you know how to work with them correctly. We call them light bringers. And, I'm sure that you've heard over the years, you've heard of ayahuasca and then DMT. And I tell people, like, if a plant, there's so many plants with like DMT. DMT is the door. The plant is what's behind there. So you could have one of those plants bring kind of a starlight into your spirit body. Another one could bring a yellow light, a purple light. There's this amazing tree bark, and it brings like literally like color into your soul. And the whole objective is just to help release negativity that you've accumulated over time through diet and thought and all that kind of thing. And then there was my perfumery. which was exotics. But it's interesting you bring that up with you said in San Francisco, you said like Chinatown.
Right. Yes.
So I'm also a perfumer, and like I'm trying to piece my world back together. And that lab that you saw that you just posted, I had roots in jars when I was literally 6 years old in that medicine lab. That I can tell you where I picked them with my granddad. So it's a really challenging thing to have to just remember that it's all gone. You know, I'm working on doing products again. Slowly going to be working on people soon, and then with my fragrances, which is my personal passion. I have been collecting, I don't know if you'd call them antique or vintage oils. And on all of them, I have stuff from like 1908, and it's a bottle of gel pills, and it's sandalwood oil. And so people don't realize, like back in the day, big like pharmacy, not only was your medicines natural and came from there, so was your fragrances, and you went to the pharmacy. So I have a lot of bottles that all say, pharmacy approved distillates. And so you've got pure oils and stuff like that in medicines, and they'll say like directions on there, drop 15 drops of oil on a sugar cube. It's pretty interesting that if you think about it, it's not that long ago.
Here's the thing. I knew that once I got into you, it's a whole show just about your background and all that, and because that's a whole different topic, but a great topic about I'm into naturopaths and things like that. Other, Western medicine has its pros and cons, and I mean, if you need surgery, you need surgery, but I need to skip. Can you walk me through, or walk everyone through, the night of the fire? I mean, because I got to get into this, because before you know it, we're going to be gone. And
no problem. Yeah, you kind of asked, and I know that my world's that's my world's very in depth and very expansive. So
yeah, it's a good thing.
First of all, we've got to kind of clip the night of the fire. We got to go into the day of the fire. Okay, you got to remember, like, I was in town the morning of until the wee hours of. I escaped twice. And so, I mean, you want me to kind of explain from start to finish, like what happened and what I went through? And I mean, I'm happy.
Yeah, and what you experienced. I mean, and you survived. If you can do that in a 5-minute story, which is that,
yeah, if I tear up, forgive me. It's heavy. Good. It's heavy. So in the morning, like I said, I usually wake up and I meditate from like 5 to 7. And then I had my dog, and she goes in my backpack, and we ride my bicycle from the house on the beach to in town. I think it's like 1.5 miles or maybe 2 miles at the most. And I would just ride the beach cruiser to work. And that morning I kind of stayed in a little more, and when I came out, it was like the wind was nuts, and we're just going, I was like, wow. And I'm struggling, kind of ride my bike into town to get to my shop. And so I get to Safeway. I was going to go in there, grab a juice and whatever for breakfast, and then head over to the shop and start working. And then when I got to Safeway, it was absolute chaos and madness. The power was out. There was a massive line to get in, and I think they were shopping people with flashlights, like letting X amount in. And I was like, you know what, dude, I'll just go to the shop and I'll make whatever herbal tea, whatever I've got in the shop, and kind of just get my day started. So pretty chaotic. I get to the shop, and it's getting kind of crazy. My one neighbor had some screens. He was like he did screens for windows, and he had a bunch outside, and they were flying all over. Where, I mean, I was like, dude, I call him up. I'm like, these things are going to decapitate people. And you'd put one of those giant trash cans down, and it would just shoot up like 3-4 stories in the air. And you're like, what is going on? And there was a door, the wooden doors to the dumpster, that would probably almost take me and you to open them, and they were just slamming shut and getting ripped off. And I called my buddy. I'm like, dude, you got to come over here. We got to tie this place down. And I end up putting my Harley in his shop, because I built a 1948 Harley, stashed it in there just to keep anything from hitting it. And then my beautiful neighbor across the way, he actually lived in the complex, and his whole world got blown down. And we had a bunch of the tall guys come over to help him. He's bleeding. And we got kind of the place hunkered down. And then I went over where you come in, there's a kind of a rickety old bar that everyone knows about in town called the Sly Mongoose. And there was no power, but everyone kind of treated it like a hurricane party, you know? And so I don't drink, but the guys were out there drinking and doing their thing. And you could see off in the distance up in the top of Lahaina Luna, you could see white smoke. So there was the beginning of the fire. And then after, you know, saying aloha to everybody, I just said I was going to go to my shop because I was working on, it's crazy. I worked on every day for an entire year, a super high-end fragrance line. And I launched it the day of the fire. Everything was sold. Poof. Gone that day. And all that work, everything I did, I was just waiting for the power to come back on to do some corrections for international shipping and whatever on the website that I built. And then I got tired all of a sudden. And it's kind of weird when you talk to so many people in Lahaina, it's like the whole town went to sleep, which is really odd. Everyone you talk to, and there's other things that were happening that people were experiencing. And next thing you know, I wake up, I'm inside on the floor, my dog crashed and sleeping. And then I wake up choking on smoke and I didn't know what was going on. I open the door and it is black. And I was like, I kept slapping my face. I thought it was a dream. I was like, what's going on? What's going on? Because what was really weird is there were flames literally the length of football fields. And they were going towards Puamana and smoke is heading towards Kaanapali. It was the strangest thing I ever saw. It was like they were layered. And so I thought I was in a dream because that didn't make any sense to me because everything's going to go in the same direction with a fire and a smoke. I've lit plenty of campfires, camped on campfires. I've gone hunting all over the world. I know what a campfire does. I know what a fire does. I've seen plenty of fires. And it was really strange. So I'm like, oh my God. And the amount of explosions that were happening, a lot of people were like, you know, you hear, oh, it's all the propane tanks. Dude, they would have had to daisy chain thousands of propane tanks together. And there's no way. The amount of explosion, my ears rang for literally a month because of all the explosions. So I grab my dog, throw in the backpack, I take off, and I was like, I got to get Paul. So I run over to get my friend, and the other side of the building is just igniting. It's on fire, right? And there's only one way in, one way out. And so I go and I'm slamming on Paul's door. And like he opens the door thinking like, what are you doing? And I'm like, bro, look, we're going to die. We got to get out of here. And he's trying to get the cats and all this stuff. And I'm going, Paul, we have to run now. And I start like crying, like, dude, you got to come with me. We're going to die because he's older and he's slower. And so I had to make this decision. Do I die with my friend right now? Or do I run for my life with my dog on my back? And I had to run for my life because it was closing in. And I went full speed because a lot of people are like, oh, why didn't you take your truck or your motorcycle? I would have died because there were trees down. There was dead people. I was running and then smashed my shoulder, which I had injury for almost a year, probably 11 months. And I'll never forget, like, it was so strange. So across were these giant buildings. A lot of the buildings in that area were metal. And it was like King Kong came and just crushed a tin can. And I was watching these buildings just fold in and crush in. And then everywhere, it was all fire. And if you've ever, you know, I know you haven't been to Lahaina, but there was this one area and the flames are going over the top of this giant propane tank. And I started running, screaming and crying because I'm like, we're going to die. I thought it'd be like an atom bomb, like, poof, and we wouldn't feel anything. And everywhere I looked was fire. There was 150-foot electric blocks, like that's on fire. The building is fire. Taco Bell's on fire. There's a propane tank with all the trees on fire. And I'm running for my life. And there was a point in time I just stopped because nothing seemed real. It seemed like you got kind of busted into 4-dimensional atoms. And it was just, the whole scenario didn't feel right. And the winds were coming in, and it would just be like, and stop, rather than, someone who's lived in harmony with nature my whole life. And I've been in hurricanes, and I've been in storms, that the wind has a spirit. It has a mana. As someone who's, half First Nation, there's a flow, whether it's strong wind or light wind, like you can just tell. And this wind did not have spirit. It was like a really just strong, and like you could feel this like blanketed energy of intensity over. And so I ran, and I know I lost Paul. I knew I lost Paul. Paul did not make it. And there was no one there. I passed a couple dead people, a couple dead children. That was really heavy, and I was freaking out about my dog because I'm also a free diver, and I can hold my breath. And so I was just taking big gulps and running and holding my breath, and I was worried about my dog on my back because she's got her mouth open. I'm
going to keep interrupting you only because I know people are going to have questions, and I apologize. But two things: the buildings, when you said that were looked like somebody was taking it and just crushing it like a beer can. Were they on fire, or they were just there getting an atmospheric type crush?
It's hard to say because there were flames going over, and then everything behind was on fire, but it was as though they were shriveling and caving in. And these are buildings with I-beams that are like 1 to 2 feet wide, 1 to 2 inches thick in structure. Does that make sense? And you're sitting here going, how is this happening? There were spots in Lahaina where you had I-beams. And for those of you who don't know what an I-beam is, like in your gymnasium, in a high school gymnasium, it's the structural metal beams, and they're steel. It's pure steel. There's areas that they're twisted up like licorice, and right beside it is a plastic light switch. Totally fine. And you're going, what? Like how? Like, huh? And so I'm running, they're crushing in, there's fire everywhere, and it's just so hard to absorb everything because I stood in the gates of hell. I looked Satan in the eyes that day, and everything was black over me, and every once in a while you just get this little orange circle, and it was the sun trying to come through. It was starting to kind of go down, and I was a late bloomer when people are like, oh, we got out of there at 3. I'm like, dude, I got out of there at like 5:45, 6:30, and the sun was like here, like going down rather than up. So I was in the heart of everything. It was so gnarly. And so I just told myself, run to the road can't catch fire, and just go north, go south, go north. And I figured because of what I saw to the south, that the south was more on fire because of the building. So I ran north, and finally, as I'm running for my life in flip-flops and shorts, that's all I got. That's all I escaped with, flip-flop shorts and my dog on my back. And then my dog died after, because of the toxicity, man. I laid in bed for 4 days after I lost her because that hit me hard.
Let me interrupt you one more time because you're talking about death here. You said you saw dead children and people had died from smoke inhalation, or do they burn from being in a fire? Are they on the road?
No, not on the highway. These people, so one was over by the big, and I had to describe things to the detectives and stuff. Over by a big monkey pod tree and part of kind of the complex. So we were on Willie Cove, if you ever guys want to look on a map, and it goes back, and then it T-bones, right? And so you've got buildings, and then a T-bone that is basically, those T-bones are parking spaces, and then they're surrounded by building. And so a lot of those buildings were like gymnasium metal buildings that had wood on the outside that were, a storefront,
right?
A pawn shop, a furniture store, whatever it was. And so then I run to through Safeway. Safeway's madness, and the winds are just out of control. I run to my friend's house, and I'm screaming and crying. We just lost Paul, and he's on the roof. We're like, what are these explosions? Because it was just like, it was like boom, boom, boom. It was just like bombs going off there. I thought we were at war. I literally thought we were at war. And then his wife takes off. She's trying to go to get on Front Street and just get out of Dodge. And then I told Mark, I go, I need to go and check the house because I felt it was my responsibility for the family because it was such madness. I kind of thought it was an opportunity for looting and stuff like that because crazy winds. And then I'm running and I hear someone yell Spice, and it was my buddy's wife. And she's like, jump in the car. She's on Front Street. And we just sat there for like 5-10 minutes. I go, Renee, I got to go. And I just start running. So I got like, 3/4 of a mile on foot with my dog on my back, get to the house. And as I'm turning, I see this girl, brown hair. She's in a rust-colored Saab. And I just made eye contact. I run in the house and I'm just like, oh my God, what just happened? What is going on? And so I go upstairs, look out, and just see giant smoke happening. And I think I sent you a video of what I escaped. And then from there, I'm just trying to gather my senses because it was almost like you got put under this confusion spell. I don't know if that's going to make sense to anyone, but nothing felt normal. Even with the fire, you still couldn't think right. And that situation happened. We can go on that later if you want. That was still very prominent months later to not ever get into a clear headspace for months and months and months. It was really odd because I'm very centered, very clear. And then after like 15 minutes, I go outside. The girl's still there in front of my driveway. And I'm like, what's going on? She's like, I don't know. And I walk out, and that's when you've seen the photographs and the videos of the police have Front Street blocked off. And everywhere going to Kaanapali, the streets are completely wide open. And I'm like, guys, what are you doing? They're like, get out of here, go back inside. I'm just like, you got to let people go. People are going to die. It's on, like, I'm freaking out on them. And then I go in and the crazy, oh my God, it was so crazy. So I guess traffic opened up. I come out. Dark wasn't far from then. It got dark after. I come outside. The winds are easy 85 miles an hour. And it's still that like power winds and stopping and power winds and stopping. And I look towards Lahaina, and you could just feel this weird heat, and you just see little ants running to you, and everything is orange. All of it's orange. And people are coming. They're like, go, get out of here. Lahaina's gone. It's gone. Run. There's dead people everywhere. Go. And I'm just like, oh shit. So I run to go inside to go get my dog and just go and get out of there. And I turned to go into, I'll never forget this, man. I turned to go into the 2 concrete walls to go to the yard, to go to the house. When I turn, I just start hearing like, boom, boom, like this giant mango tree we had in the yard starts unbuckling from the ground. I'm 6 feet off the ground. I thought I was gone. I literally thought the tree, the house with my dog, me, we were just going to spiral out into the abyss. And I got thrown across the yard almost to the beach, which is probably 25 yards to the beach, right? And then I'm trying to get into the house to get my dog. And I swear it took me it felt like 10 minutes to go another 20 yards. The winds were so strong. And when I get to the house finally, I'm wrestling the door to get in, and it's just slamming, and I couldn't get the door to get inside without sorry.
You're getting slammed from the winds?
From, trying to get the door open to get inside the house. It was absolute insanity, the winds. And so it's slamming, and we're trying to open it, and it's slamming and opening. And I battled this door for I don't know how long. And finally I get in, get my dog, get her in a backpack, grabbed a headlamp because I knew where it was right there on the mantle when I walk in the door. And then I come out, and it pushes me up. And I was trying to make the decision, do I jump in the ocean? But I'm like, there's 85-mile-an-hour wind caps. I can hold my breath for over 2 minutes. But I got my dog on my back, and then even if I can hold my breath, you still got wind caps that are probably going to be a few feet high. So that's dangerous. So I'm running, and all of Waiakuli is just hell's bells on fire. And I'm running for my life. And I don't know if you know anything on Maui, but like I'm running and I had a headlamp on and only 2 cars came out on the highway. And I jump in front of them and put my light at their face trying to like, help me. And they just kept going. And I'm like, oh my God, we're going to die. And I just kept running when everything's on fire. I ran from Lahaina to Napili. And that's like a long way on foot. And then up the dirt road where I used to live in my shack for 25 years and no power. And my new neighbors that were there, I went to their house and I was thinking, I was like, dude, I just felt this need to be someplace comforting from what I went through, if that makes sense. I just wanted a place that I could just be like, you're okay, you know? So I ran to their house and I get there and it was late. It was like 12:30. And I go and like, there's all these people there in my other old neighbor's house. And so we're all trying to talk, figure out. And they're like, you know what, just go in the bed over here. And I cried myself to sleep from just the whole intensity of everything that happened. I knew I lost my friend. I knew I lost my life's work. And then there's
What
some
time
other,
did you get there?
huh?
What time did you get there? From the time it's like 6 o'clock in the afternoon, in the evening, what time did you get to your old shack with the new neighbors?
I don't think I left the house. I'm going to guess. So it's after dark. So 8:30. I'm guessing I left there around 9:30, 9:45. I really don't know. You know, I wasn't like checking my watch every time.
No, I get that, but I'm just saying, you know, you said it's a long way. I didn't know how
It
long
is.
it took.
I got there at 12:30, like around 12:31, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And it was on foot. And if you tell people you ran from Napili, like from Lahaina to Napili, they're like, what? You know, because it's a long ride. But I had so much adrenaline and so much panic and so much, you know, my ears are ringing. I got my dog. I'm just trying to figure out a place to be safe.
And that was away from everything?
Yeah, get away from the fire. That's all I kept saying. Just get away from the fire. Run, dude, you know, and just get away, because it was like, I was like, is it going to keep going north? And so then the boys woke me up at like 2:30 in the morning, my friend's kids, just because they were talking. And when you're in the country, voice travels a little more. And that's for another story of what was going on and what we saw. You know?
I got a question. You were down by the water. There's lots of pictures of everything down by the water where, in my opinion, there's not much to burn, especially the boats on the water. How the hell did the boats on the water burn?
You know, there's so many, 1 and 1 equals 2. And in this case, 1 and 1 equals 0. Things make 0 sense. The one thing that's really odd to me is the horrific scene of all the cars on Front Street all burned. You know, right. I mean, there's the speculation of the blue things, but one thing you don't notice and don't see at all is not one single door is open on one car.
With people in them.
People in them. And at the same time, you're sitting here going, why wouldn't the doors be open to escape?
To run for your life.
Yeah, to run for your life. And as you were saying, I have talked to friends, because I have a lot of, I knew everyone. I worked on everybody. I worked on so many people. It's like I helped so many people. And even my friend, her boat's like 100 or more yards out from the shore. And you're like, how's your boat catch on fire? Like all these boats out the shore caught on fire. And something that really, like, I'm sitting here going, okay, you talk to people in Hana and Wailuku, in Kihei, like that morning, some reason I think in the morning I had text and I hit my buddy up because he lives over in Kihei in the Wailea side. And I was like, bro, it's absolute madness. He goes, what are you talking about? And I go, dude, the winds are like 65 mile an hour plus. And he's like, it's like what we say Malia. Malia is like you could throw a hammer at the ocean and shatter it. It's so glass. And then I had a girlfriend of mine, her brother came, who's a police officer. Planes were landing. And they didn't even know. They said there wasn't a pin drop of wind until they got to Lahaina. And it's all hell break loose. And you're sitting here and it's like, there's so many different things that are, it just, I don't know, it's beyond me. Other people are going to understand it much, much greater than I will. But why was it just Lahaina and Kula? Why didn't Oahu experience any devastation? Why didn't Kauai experience any devastation? Lanai's in front of us, Molokai, Big Island. Like, they didn't have a bunch of phone poles down. They didn't have a bunch of chaos and roof. Like, I guarantee you, from what I saw, there were people that got decapitated by materials, roofing or whatever. Like, there's
Hit by debris.
Exactly. And so there's just a lot of things. Like I said, 1 and 1 equals 0. Things don't make 0 sense. And like I said, the wind has a spirit. And if everyone goes outside during a storm, there's a beauty to it, even though it's a storm. You know what I mean? There's an elegance to it. And as someone who's First Nation and was raised, from my mom's side and my grandfather teaching me everything, like we compare ourselves, like you said, like you talked about a Chinese medicine place in San Francisco. I have a Native American style, and we compare you the same to the earth. And fall into winter is her breath in. Spring into summer is her breath out. So in the summer, when it's all hot and moisture, that's when it's coming up. And so there's just a lot of things that I'm very attuned to from my upbringing and then living as I did, that it didn't feel natural, if that makes sense.
There's a lot of question. I mean, I don't think you have to be a rocket scientist to look at things and going, how is that possible? The cars, and then you see something right next to it, or you're in the middle of the Safeway parking lot. How does everything burn in an asphalt parking lot or things like that? I mean, it just didn't make sense.
Yeah, super strange. On that note, on the other side, I mean, so there is a really nice complex I have friends live in, and so it's kind of like a big square, and then you drive all the way around, and then in the middle, those burned. Nothing on the outside. Not one. And up across, so there's that water canal that goes towards the valley, and it's like 150 yards wide. And you had 2 buildings that literally did what I said, shriveled up, like they got kind of shrunk, and then the inside is just char blasted. But the entire building is metal. The doors, the entire building, everything. And there's 2 trees that are like that big around in the parking lot. I don't think they're going to ignite 2 metal buildings. And they're like, I don't know, 40 feet from the buildings. And so there's just a lot of things that are odd. And on the subject of boats, like you said, where I had a little storage place, the fire's not even anywhere near that place. And an entire line of boats got turned into powder. They burned and none of the buildings did. Behind it is a beautiful church, bright green grass, another building, all the bushes are fine, that goes down the street beside it. And then over here at this building, everything's fine, but there's a van that's completely obliterated.
I've seen fires that are, something survives next to it, but this is just beyond, and the people and the way of the deaths and things like that, which I'm going to hit. I want you, because I've talked to Paul about this, and I'm going to bring Paul on in just a couple of minutes here. I get a lot of people already, the comments from advertising that we're talking about the show. I already got the comments. There was this big thing about missing children. And I've spoken to Paul about it, but for the love of God, is it a myth or was it true that there's unaccounted children? So I could put this to rest or give an answer to.
Like being honest, it's such a touchy subject, because immediately after the fire, that was something that surfaced. And it's not something you walk up to someone and go, hey, you hear anything about any children missing. And it was kind of like you had to dance around because I was curious too.
Bus loads, like a bus load, or I mean,
Well,
not just,
I
random.
saw videos that someone had, I forgot who, and it was 4 school buses and all their windows were jet black. It might have been 5 buses. They were yellow school buses, and they were missing from the school grounds where they normally park. And then I've heard of children screaming on a boat going, but I'm only going on hearsay. I do know they said there were no children, but then there was a guy that was in court who lost his family and his own child in the fire. But they're saying that there was no children lost. And I saw 2. And then there was the one that was recognized that was cuddling his dog when his life was taken. And so what is it?
I mean, because if that many children were missing, where's the parents? Where's the grandparents? I mean, are they all dead to not be able to say anything? We're talking a lot of children, not just 2 or 3 is what the story was.
That, and I've heard a number of things being suppressed. A guy that I have hunted with, a really nice local boy, a guy he worked with had someone work with him, and this is what I was told, that he was going to the police saying his son is missing, and they're like, oh, we'll get in touch with you, and they just would never, and they would just say we'll get in touch with him, and they never got in touch with him, and he just absolutely flipped out and lost it and left the island. So I don't know. It's such a harsh subject because people that want to yell conspiracy will just scream at you because it can be considered disrespectful. But then people such as ourselves, we're not trying to start anything. We're being compassionate to the law.
Yeah.
We want that because it's like, hey, is this true? Because this shouldn't be, And so I know you're coming from a compassionate place, and so am I. But like I said, it's such a really challenging subject.
I get it, but people just want the truth. I mean, okay, I know that train wrecks are, people are attracted to train wrecks and things like that, but it's more about the decency of the truth of like what the hell is really going on. I got one more little myth, and because again, they sound fantastic. There was rumor that people were dressed as FEMA agents who really weren't FEMA agents in there and doing a lot more damage than good during the chaos of it. I've heard stories about people getting shot and killed, and they took the bodies up into the woods and buried bodies to keep silent. I don't know. I'm just bringing it out because I get these questions, and I'm just seeing,
the stuff I've heard that guys were running around with flamethrowers, guys were shooting people to make sure they were dead. I've heard there were shootouts between FEMA and the feds. I mean, it's just like, it's crazy, the rabbit hole and the stories that are there. And like FEMA is such a challenging topic because I'm in a place where I'm one of the few that I know that got very blessed with a smooth transition. However, there are some things. I think last night when me and you were talking, I said that no one knows that we're actually allocated $82,000, right, as a victim. And so half of that is supposed to go to your housing, and then the other half is just to help you get on your feet with repurchasing lost needs and clothing, to maybe getting you back on your feet business-wise or starting over with a house. And the stories that I've heard are horrible from others. Like I have a really wonderful girlfriend, and she was, she's a mom. She doesn't need to be doing anything, but everyone came together. The community was incredible. It shows the potential of humanity.
Right.
And I know hands down for a fact that FEMA was here 2 days after. And I also know for a fact they were even here before a week prior. I know for a fact. And they weren't allowed to come on to start making movement until 10 to 14 days later. And so the Hawaiians, literally before the sun came up next day, had like were coming in by boats, just dumping off supplies, going back, and people were coming from everywhere. The beauty and everybody watching, like, to show the love that we all have and the potential that's waiting and the magic to happen for such an incredible life for all of us right there in front of us, that we had so much stuff coming in that we had to say stop. How's that? That's incredible. Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. And we even have one more FEMA people right now. The Hawaiians really stepped up. Like, aloha is the answer. The Hawaiians were setting up hubs. My one friend, Bam, he had it at his house. He turned his house into a department store. Come in, get what you need. There's shirts, clothes, food, toilet paper, toothpaste, like, and it was like incredible, like instantly. And so when FEMA comes on board and they're pushing people out of the way, like my girlfriend that's making spam musubi because it's easy, it's rice, it's a meat, it's wrapped in seaweed and it's easy, and you can just start handing them out to people, right? Just to get food in people's bellies. And FEMA's coming in and taking them from her, going, these aren't sanitary. And we're going, where you been? You know, but the FEMA people, I don't want to say just like I'm blessed, because I know people, really good people that haven't got anything, and they just got spun through the system and walk in nothing. And the thing that I struggle with is, if you're a renter, you had more opportunity to be taken care of by FEMA. If you were a homeowner, nope, you're not getting anything. And that's wrong. Why is that wrong? Because the homeowners in Lahaina, as well as any city, any county, any community, they're the backbone, because they can rent out what we call an ohana, or just a small segment of their house, to provide housing for someone. So they need to be taken care of too. And so there's all this huge thing. And, you know, a lot of people are really upset with the current administration really cutting FEMA, but it's such a iffy thing, because you've got, I don't know if you've seen the people chicken coops here. It's a blessing. There's people there. Me and you could build one in a couple days. They're pieces of junk, probably 30 grand to make. FEMA, ECC, and Army Corps of Engineers paid themselves $840,000 a piece, and they're through a management company, the same 3 government entities, for $11,000 a month, and half of them are empty, and they're still getting paid. So is this a huge money wash? What's going on here? So
it's look, I you know, again, the FEMA, that's now that we're getting into the whole money scam end of it, is a whole, you know, that's another tragedy as well. But I was more about the myths and or truth of the dark side of the things going on that they were claiming that was going on, that, I mean, to me is, you know, a sin, if true, you know, of the evil of things. Because again, I'm sorry, but I believe there was a lot of dark stuff, that things are not as they seem, and I am sure the truth is going to come out soon. But I've been getting these questions from people. It's like, is this true? And because it sounds like bullshit. It's like, how can people be, you know, coming in and killing their own people and disposing of their bodies and burying them, you know, so they can't talk, you know? But then again, in my mind, land grab doesn't matter. You don't matter, you know, and that's why.
Yeah, well, on the land grab thing and all that, I mean, I think the highlighted word of everything is what you said, evil. And there's obviously hearts out there that are dark. And I think I tell people that, you know, if there's something to kind of point towards this and so many other events that are happening around the world, and they don't believe that there might be some type of outer influence. And I tell them, the reason you don't think is because you're a good person, and that it's hard to fathom that there's that level of evil, and it is hard. I'm with them, but at the same time, there's so much going on in the world. Like India just got flooded yesterday. Sardinia's on fire. Same thing here. And there's patterns that are showing up that, you know, others are going to be able to speak much more on me than I will, as everything was gray and white powder, and you got trees still standing. The trees are burnt in the middle. There's cars that are melted, and there's not materials enough to do this to these buildings. you know? And
Exactly.
so in the type of what you're seeing with the people that are turned to powder, like just to give people an idea of my world, like, so not only I'm a medicine man, but I'm a bow hunter and I hand make bow and arrows. In my loft above my medicine lab, I had like 15 what you call Euro mounts, so different deer skulls with their antlers and goats and mouflon and wild boar and whatever I was hunting. There was not an antler, there was not a tooth, there was not a bone fragment, there was absolutely nothing. Absolute powder. I have no, that's impossible to me. I don't care how hot that fire, like there was nothing in the structure of that building. The concrete of the building, that is the property divide that you hilty off of, and people don't know what hilty is. Like you're mounting 2x4s into the concrete so you can build a structure. That wall, a portion of it was turned into powder and blown away. Concrete blocks. Yeah. You're just like, it's insanity. My Harley Davidson, we couldn't find the engine.
The frame was there, but the engine was gone?
The frame and the tank were there. The engine wasn't even in a puddle. It was absolutely disappeared.
Makes no sense. No sense. And this is the crap that I've been talking about because, again, I started following, I'm sure you know who they are, the Realty, Hawaiian Realty, or was it something? Or aren't those guys? They put out a lot of videos, or was it Maui Realty? Yeah. And they had a lot of videos in the beginning trying to show you things. But hold that thought. I got to get Paul in here because again, I want him to join the discussion at this point, and I'm really sorry, Paul, but I'm going to give him the grand entrance too. Ladies and gentlemen, he's been on the show last year to talk about the fires. He runs a grassroots organization called the Maui Community Investigations. You can find him on YouTube, but he's knee deep in, actually neck deep into all this because he cares, lives on the island, and a friend of the show from last year, and now making a second appearance to help me try to decipher this craziness. But right here on this show, Mr. Paul Deslauriers, right here. There you go. Sorry, we're getting deep.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Peter, again, for bringing this awareness to people again. It's 2 years. And like you mentioned, a lot of people have put this in the background, in particular with all of the tragedies that we're being faced with at this point in time. But I think as Spice was mentioning, there are a lot of things that we can learn from what happened in Lahaina as it applies to many other incidences that have occurred throughout this planet right now. So again, when you look at FEMA, for example, what he was just talking about, I think that is endemic of a lot of the situations that we've seen in North Carolina, Texas, LA. So again, these are things that are following a pattern. And when you look at the destruction also, including the weather, as Spice was mentioning, crazy, crazy weather. And how is that possible? Well, again, you can't look to a normal, natural situation, but the way that we went about it was to look at the anomalies. What is normal? What's not normal? So there are 20 major anomalies in Lahaina that we followed and studied. We had experts, engineers, we had former fire chiefs and fire captains all make comments and look at the data and information that we collected. Now, when we showed this to 6 former fire captains and fire chiefs, they all said the same thing. This is more than just a natural fire. This, and again, they indicated that it could be microwave, plasma, and as we further went into our investigations, that's what we were finding, that it follows that footprint. So,
but
Spice,
Paul,
yep.
Paul, you the minute you start saying microwave and plasma, and they're going, what? You know, it's like, dude, the news told us it was a bad firestorm with the hurricane winds, and come on, you know, the fire plasma. It's like, what kind of science fiction bullshit is this?
So we have 12 videos on these anomalies that show that how can you have trees burning from the inside out, way down into the root system? You know, how can you have the explosions that Spice was mentioning? How can the weather be so intense right in Lahaina and in Kula, while in other areas throughout the island, it's calm and still. And how can you have it be stationary, the wind, for so long when you have supposedly two diverting fronts? You had a high and low pressure system, the high pressure system 700 miles to the north, and then 650 miles to the southwest, you had, the hurricane. So again, when it's diverting like that, it wouldn't remain stationary. So it goes against the normal way that weather would operate and function. So you look at then basically what truly happened, not the mainstream story, because we're here, we're boots on the ground. And so a lot of people, a lot of Spice's friends, a lot of people that I know that we've been part of this community, all shared very informative pieces of data that, again, are compiled in those 12 videos that we have on mauicommunityinvestigation.com. And also we've been going and looking at we've been looking at 47 major US fires and incidents, and again, looking at their footprints. And so that's in communityinvestigations.com. We have that type of information laid out, as well as how to get out of this mess that we're in right now using community organizing and political action committees. So there are things that we can do that we can extract ourselves from this craziness and from this more sociopathic system that we're in at this point in time. But when you start to go and dig deep into all these different incidences, and you see what's natural and normal, and then you look at what actually occurred, that gap between the two, when you look at the anomalies, what those anomalies say is there's a footprint. There's a footprint left by whatever technology, or whether it was natural, it would be in that footprint. And that's what we studied and looked at very diligently. It was, again, we went into Lahaina way before they started the cleanup. I was in there nearly 20 times before the cleanup, spending full days there, half days, and again, digging, probing, looking at all these different things that are not natural. And
do you guys think that that fence they put up so quickly that they just happen to have, do you think that was a necessary something that was necessary?
Spice, you want to answer that?
Yeah. Like in a realistic sense, one, if, things that Paul has kind of discovered through their research and anyone else, that to hide that. But two, I do think that it was needed because you got to keep people out. I mean, it was a danger zone, and the destruction that happened. I mean, people, there's people that aren't so bright and they're going to go in there and get injured, and the toxicity level, like, they're doing people a favor to keep them out. Like, Paul, I mean, do you remember, like, okay, so we just had a fire 2 days ago, and when you drive by on the highway, it smells like a fire that happened. Lahaina smelled like this chemical electrical burn, and the burns that you see on the side of buildings, on concrete wall, like, it looked like if two wires fray and char from an electrical surge and they short. Am I right? Is that what it is? This smell was so not fire. It was really different and really toxic. You would go in there literally for 5 minutes and it felt like someone threw a softball at your forehead. And you couldn't take it. It was extremely toxic. Yeah. And so
it was toxic. It was not normal, like a normal fire. Similar with LA, and actually similar for 9/11, what happened at the Twin Towers, that the level of toxicity and smell was so intense. So again, was this an engineered event that would create this type of odor that we certainly was very distinguishable from everything else. Also, we did analysis of the soil. We took 40 samples, and we did samples of the substrate and also of the ash, and most of the toxicity was right in the ash. That's where you had high concentration of lead and arsenic in particular.
I'm still thinking, as when Spice said that his Harley was sitting there and the engine's gone. Things. I mean, it's cast metal. It's not all steel on the engine, but melted or just like gone,
evaporated, gone. Okay, and not only that, I put it in a screen shop. Okay, and the screen shop, everything's metal and screen. You need fuel to be able to take my Harley in that direction, much less anything else in cars. And then I helped do, and there was a guy who was the manager of the property that lived there. And every once in a while I'd help him if we had somebody new move in. And literally that building, it was probably from the 60s, maybe the 70s. It was like a 2x4 every 16 inches and 1/4 inch panel. That's nothing. That's not fuel to melt a Harley. I don't care if the wind's 300 miles an hour. You need a fuel source. And Paul, I don't know if I pointed out to you or told you, something really weird to me is the first day when I went to check out my loss of everything just being completely obliterated and gone. And I had a giant jacked up 4-wheel drive truck. It was on its belly, no tires, everything just, the glass melted and wrapped the steering wheel. One thing that you can see in this pattern that Paul's speaking of is the oxidation happens literally the next day. Like everything starts rusting. And so that's, I don't know.
That was so bizarre.
My engineer, for instance, that's some type of electrolysis. I don't know. It's not my field of expertise. But what stood out was really weird to me, and I pointed him out to another friend on another building, is, okay, so if you go to my front door and you come back about 20 feet, which would be back of where my truck is, okay, the entire building was probably 75 yards to 100 yards long. In a row was nails from the building, as though they all shot out the same distance. That to me, and I had to,
where they shot out? How? Like
they shot out of the building onto the ground, and they were laying in a row, not organized, but all like 20 feet in a row, were the nails from the building, as though they all just shot out of the building structure.
I can see Paul's wheels turning.
Well, that was very strange. I mean, I looked at that with Spice at his place, and there were many strange things. There were other motor scooters also, where the gas tank and seat and everything and back tire is fine, and then the engine is totally obliterated.
Yeah.
Same with the vehicles and the cars. It's patterned with the cars. If you go right at the very beginning of the fire, you see this. Again, it's right on our website, especially if you go into video 2, which goes into the vehicles. It shows that right at the onset of the fire, you have this utility vehicle, perfectly fine in the very back, tires, tools. I even had an aerosol can that worked, but yet the very front of the car, of this vehicle, totally disintegrated and melted all the way down, and it was the engine block. Yet, what's really strange is that if you look around a Quonset hut, there's a house untouched. There's light brush on a fence that was untouched, and this and I was there shortly after the fire. I snuck in, and that is what greeted me when I went there, and I said, "Oh God, this is an engineered event."
I'm going to blow your mind on that subject. I don't know. Let's see if you guys can see before I show this to you. Just let me know if you can see it. Let me find it here real quick. This is really 2 amazing friends of mine. And so, does this show up?
Give it a shot.
Okay, let me see here. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, that's a Quonset hut. That's a friend of mine. And That was on over by the old mill. So the whole thing is literally on gravel. Okay. Do you see anything burnable in there? We got the bottom, it's concrete. We've got a slate, maybe that little wooden table that they probably roll, but do you see everything's metal?
Yeah.
That's a Quonset hut. Okay.
Okay.
Let me show you something else here. This is going to blow your mind. Okay, now can you see that?
Well, that's where it was. Wait a minute. What are you?
This is inside of that building. Can you see the blue circle?
Yes.
Can you see the black on the ground?
Yeah.
Do you know what that is?
No.
That's 6 people.
Put it up there again. There you go. 6. They were.
My friends, these people broke into their place to survive from the fire up the hill. And then when they came to their shop to just, everyone wants to see their devastation, if there's anything salvageable, did they lose everything? Right. And then he's looking around and goes, what are these coins here and these rings? What is this? And then they had the police come, and it was 6 people.
And everything else around it is
obliterated.
But there's not even bones, right? I can't.
No, they didn't even know what they were stepping on. They had no idea.
You can't even get rid of bones when you cremate somebody.
This is beyond me. I'm the baffled messenger that says 1 + 1 does not equal 2. It equals 0. It makes 0 sense to me.
Even cremation, they have to grind the bones up because the heat isn't even, and that's 4,500 degree temperature, I believe, that they do cremation at.
Yeah. I don't know any of that. I don't know, but I can show. And like I told you, at the top of my loft, I had all these giant elk skull or deer skulls and wild boar and goats and mouflon and whatever. There was not a single trace of them.
Yeah.
Nor my friend.
So you can see some of this footprint that we're talking about. And when we say that it's not natural, and that, again, we have to go to looking at wave technology. This is how they can actually take energy within the atmosphere and utilize that energy. And there's a tremendous amount of energy. We're surrounded by this plasma energy. And when that gets activated, what you see, for example, is lightning. Lightning is that plasma energy that's been charged. And they can do the same type of charging using microwaves. So microwave energy, even a low amount of energy, can create then this intense energy. If you look at the bodies that we have in one of our videos, again, you can go to our website, mauicommunityinvestigation.com, and you can look at the videos we have on the bodies. And we have, how can a cat be in full stride, frozen in place, or a toad leaping and then just frozen in that leap? Or you have bodies that are disintegrated where all you have is really a hunk of black ash, yet they still have hair on their head. Now, the only things that can really start to account for this is type of microwave type energy. And again, that could be easily utilized. Again, we have a lot of different things that are manipulated. We have the weather, and there are 7 major anomalies with the weather that, again, are not normal. And when you add it all up, again, you're going into energy wave technology that would account for that type of incident. And you can go to our website again, and we have video on that also about the weapons that were being utilized.
I'm going to direct people to your website. I am. But you're mentioning the bodies, and I felt bad because I told people I was going to give them some visual proof of like what doesn't make sense to me. I'd like to play. I took 3 minutes from your website,
Sure.
Paul, And
Sure,
I'd like
go.
to show the bodies because you mentioned the hair. Now they're silent; they don't really say anything. And on your website, you have detail about everything, and like how it doesn't make sense. But I just need to show people because sometimes just telling them isn't enough. And even if so, let me just play this, and I hope I can do this real quick. So bear with me.
So this was taken that morning, early morning after the fire. If you see that body, it is black ash, and there is hair on the person's head, cornrows, and the other person is their female. Here's a cat that is frozen in place, the one that I mentioned. Now, how is this possible? It's this cat, you can see that there's exudite. That's that wet spot underneath it. And as you go along, here's a dog also that, again, this is Front Street that this is on. And you can see the vehicles that were also destroyed along the street. People were blocked in. But again, you see exudite. The hair is fine on that dog. And there are a lot of other types of shots. Here's one that was done that night of the 8th, late night. I don't know how well you can see this, but right there is actually 2 bodies in that vehicle. And you can see the skeletons. And again, that strange thing that Spice mentioned about the rust forming, again, you could see differences from one day to the next of those vehicles where those bodies were. And you can see another picture. It's pretty dark. Again, it was taken at night. So you can make out another body. So again, and when I showed these bodies, like this is more of a normal body in terms of smoke inhalation and what you would normally see. But there are other bodies that are very strange in terms of there's another one later where half of the body is burnt. And when I showed that to former fire chiefs and fire captains, they said, this is not normal. You cannot have this type of, without being within the building itself. It says, this does not make sense. There's something else that's being utilized other than natural fire for these deaths. So, and we're coming up here to another body. And you can see that part of this body, half of it is burnt and charred, the other half is not, as if it was hit by some type of energy wave on one side. And there's not a lot to around that area where it could have created a tremendous amount of heat. So again, it leaves questions. We've had some very interesting groups that we've been working with. One was Gray Tech, who was in charge with picking up the bodies. And basically, the person who was overseeing that confronted the police chief, who brought in his home crew of 40 people that night and started collecting the bodies and destroying forensic evidence in the process. So he confronted him about that forensic data that need to be collected as they get the bodies and take pictures and take locations and all these other things instead of just piling them up in the back of the van. And so when he did do that, he got the anger of Police Chief Pelletier, and that resulted later in, after all the bodies were picked up, it later resulted in him being fired and not even getting paid for his work. So this is the level of consciousness that we're dealing with when it comes to the oversight of the fire, especially Chief Pelletier, very suspicious. Again, when you have someone who is stopping exits and directing people into the fire itself, these things, again, need to be seriously looked at. and they're just saying that, oh, I did the best I could. No, there's something going on here, and that's why we keep on being persistent and digging and trying to expose the truth, because we really do need to know. And again, it's reflective of so many other incidences that are happening, not only in the United States, but globally. So again, I think that we're under attack. We have to be consciously aware of that so that we can then start to take action to unplug from this psychopathic system that's harming people in such an unbelievable way.
Yeah, this isn't your average, let's redevelop the area kind of person's redevelopment. I mean, this is we don't give a shit, and this is what we're going to do, and whatever stands in the way, it doesn't really matter. They're peons, it doesn't matter. I want to go back to Spice for a second, because you have never recovered. So we're 2 years into this. Where is your life at right now, real quick? Because I want to talk about that before it gets too late.
You know, like I personally think that if I didn't do the line of work that I do and have worked on literally thousands of people, I'd be in a straitjacket or would have just pulled the plug. Like, I don't think 99.9% of the people could deal with what I went through, and I was messed up in the beginning. I was really screwed up. The first couple months, I would just go do breath holds in the ocean, and I'd come out and I was trying to just get some clarity, and then I'd be just lost again. And people were like, you got to get out of here. People got me off island. That if any of you are going through something like this, where you're kind of in a forced disaster, and a couple things I recommend is time in nature with trees. The trees, it may sound kind of hippie, but it literally, that is the best medicine. I don't drink, I don't do weed, I don't do coffee, I don't do cigarette, I don't do anything. And I'm on an herbal regime and meditation, but the trees will pull it out of you. And then I also have a picture frame that it has a bunch of my photos loaded from prior that shows how magical my life was, and it gives you hope. You know, I really recommend anyone who's gone through such trauma. But as far as me bouncing back
financially, like, you know, you got to eat, you need money.
Dude, the state put us on EBT. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So I do have a GoFundMe if anyone cares to bless me to get a foot forward. And all I'm going to do is take that money and strive towards helping others again with, you know, building a medicine lab and products to help others. I'm hardwired to help people. That's just what I've done my whole life and what I intend to do my whole life. And so thank you. But, you know, to be honest, it's 3 full-time jobs starting over and not making a dime. So I literally really haven't worked in 2 years. It's like, you took about a year and a half for you just to grasp onto reality and be like, whoa, man. Okay. From having the most absolute magical life ever, I had 6 businesses that gave me my lifestyle. I would snowboard every year, jump out of helicopters and chase powder storms and surf all over the world and go bow hunting and diving and picking flowers and making fragrances. And now the struggle is, you're having to put all this energy to starting over from nothing, that you don't have a life anymore. I don't get to go and be like, oh, let's go do this now. Because you're on a time schedule. I am blessed through a FEMA thing. And, you know, there have been some wonderful people with FEMA, and they love me. And there are some good souls that are wanting to be a part of FEMA to help others. But then there's just another side of it that it's dark. And so, yeah, so my Venmo's under my name, Spice Prince, and then my GoFundMe's under Island Spice Hawaii. So, but thank you I really appreciate that. And so you have good days, you know, everyone, and then you slide and you fall apart and you're like, it's just gone. And it hits you. And what I'm noticing now, especially X amount of months ago, is those people that weren't actually directly in the fire, like myself, a victim, survivor, whatever you want to say, it's hitting them now that our beloved town is gone. And that could be people here on the west side that weren't in Lahaina. That could be where Paul lives on the other side. It could be the whole entire other islands, because Lahaina was so special. And it can be people that have been coming here for 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And it's just hitting us all that it's not here anymore. And I've traveled the world, and I've always said, it's so amazing that I get to go to these exotic places, do all these incredible things, all these cultures, and do all this amazing stuff. But I come home not only to Hawaii, not only to Lahaina, but to the Hawaiians. And the Hawaiians are such a unique and special culture, and just breed existence of people. And it's sad that the event like this is getting shut down. People are having to move just to survive, and it's getting more and more expensive, and every time you turn around. And so that is the reality that shouldn't be. And you're seeing funds and money, just like, I'm sure you're very aware. I saw you speaking on LA. The big music concert was to help the people, and no one knows where the money is. There were millions and millions of dollars promised here. No one's seen it. There were other organizations that were good to people and helped people. And, God bless everyone that gave money to people they've never met before, donated. I really think this day and age, it's more important if you want to donate to survivors of a disaster, to try and go directly to them rather than even a charity, because there's somebody just going in and taking a big scoop of it for themselves, when you could go directly to a person and help them get on their feet much faster. So
you're saying don't go to Oprah is what you're saying, right?
That's a huge no.
Another show.
Yeah.
Hang on 1 minute. So if anybody finds it in their heart to help the island's medicine man, I mean, after losing everything, I mean, anything helps to help him get back. You'll never get back to where you were, right? I mean,
no. People are like, oh, you'll just build back better. I'm like, that's impossible. That picture right there is 46 years of medicine. I had roots and jars when I was 6 years old. I don't have that in me anymore to travel the world and get. So it'll just be different. I tell them it won't be better. It'll just be different.
I get it. So if anybody he's got the GoFundMe, Island Spice Hawaii, and or the Venmo that is in his name, Spice Prince, right there. Just anything.
Gas money.
Yeah, it's that, because it is that bad. It is that bad. And hang on real quick, because Paul, I want you to tell everybody real quick about your Maui community investigations real quick, and I'm going to show where they can find you too, because you have very explicit documentaries and investigation videos that are hours and long with in-depth detail. I'm having to blow through everything, and I apologize, gentlemen, but I just wanted to put this out there. It's the only thing I can really do to try to make a difference, is to put it out there. So tell everybody what where they can find you and all that on that.
Sure, Peter. I just want to underline also, please, if you have the means to support Spice, and go to his Venmo, Spice Prince. And again, there are many people who are dealing with trauma. Our whole island is dealing with trauma in different ways because of this event. It had such a that was our cultural epicenter, our small business epicenter, and totally destroyed. So again, if you can go to our website, it's mauicommunityinvestigations.com or .org. We also have, that is specifically on Maui, and you'll see a lot of videos that we have that explain the different anomalies and how it all points to wave technology that was being used in this. Same also for our more global aspect of community investigations, that's plural.com. And there you can find a lot of our blogs. Now we have blogs also that we're doing to look at how do we get out of the system? How can we unplug from this and not empower these people? Because again, our tax money is feeding this technology that is now coming down on us at this point in time. So the weather engineering, especially with all these floods that are happening all over the place, earthquakes, as well as these fires, there can be engineered based on the technology that our tax money has paid for. So again, it's so ironic that we are looking at paying for our own demise in some way, But if you can, one way to unplug is through political action committees. It is looking at getting control of your local governance so that you can become more self-sufficient. We've been doing that here.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
He'll be back.
So-
He'll be back. Oh, there he is.
There we go.
Okay.
So anyway, again, I think that if people want to learn more, if you could help us also in our investigation, that'd be great, because we are still digging. We have a lot of information that we're putting out, and we're going to continue to do so until we get some resolution and clarity on this.
Thank you. I want to thank both you guys for taking the time to help explain this to most people who are just not aware of what, I mean, you hear of something and it's like, oh, that's really sad, but it's really sad. And again, you're right. Things are being done to the people in this country and the world of our own doings, and they're using all this stuff against us. And I'm a firm believer in it. And the truth is out there, and it's going to come out, eventually. It's just a matter of when. So I want to thank you guys again. You can find Paul and his people over at Maui Community Investigations at www.mauicommunityinvestigations.com. And again, for Spice, if you're and again, and all your Maui stuff too, you guys aren't getting paid for this. You're all doing this out of your own pockets, correct?
That's correct.
Everybody, because they care. So let's, help a brother out, and just at least go to their website and see what they have to offer the information. You'll see this isn't something they just threw together in 10 minutes. They have pretty much dedicated your lives to this since this occurrence, and that's pretty heavy. But go and check those out. And once again, the last time around for Spice, anybody has a few dollars they can spare, throw it to him so he can go back, because not only is he trying to get his own life, but he's helping everybody around there to help recoup. And I don't think you'll ever get over it. You just have to learn how to live through it and just survive. Correct?
Yeah, it's just one day at a time. You count your blessings. Like, I've always been understanding that nothing goes with you when your time comes, other than the love and the light in your heart. And this just kind of solidified it even more. And so, but it makes you really, instead of projecting forward, you're like right now, and you're making the most of each day, and if any of you, I'm grateful for any blessing, but if you want to keep up with my world, Island Spice Hawaii on Instagram, it probably show up under my name as well. And what I do plan on doing, hopefully by fall, is to start kind of bringing to life a couple products to market, and fragrance and bows and things like that. So, get back on my feet, start working again. But I do want to, I'm going to launch a campaign to create herbal detoxes. And if, let's say you guys bought one from me, then the profits will go to another cleanse that I'm going to actually give to people that worked in the burn zone here in Lahaina to clean it up, just to say thank you. Because I'm actually concerned about a lot of people that I know, and friends and people I don't know that, because the toxicity level, I spoke with a friend of mine who worked at 9/11, and he said that the toxicity here is 100 times more than 9/11. Wow. And I was just like, wow. And he said the particulates go in a 55-mile radius, which is the entire island. And so my love to just helping people to say thank you. There's a point in time where it's not about you, it's about all of us, and on that note, I hope people understand how special Lahaina was. Not only was it this beloved town, it was once the capital of Hawaii during the Hawaiian Kingdom times. And there's friends of mine that were Hawaiian, and their homes they weren't just homes, they were like museums, and they lost relics and artifacts handed down for hundreds of years. So it's just a really sad loss, period. I'm not the only person that lost. Everybody lost.
Everybody lost. But again,
now you lost, because it was just such a sacred, special place to be.
I'm glad that you're here to talk about it, and one day at a time to try to preserve what's left of it. And again, I thank both of you, because I'm down to crunching minutes, because let me just finish up the show. Please just hang out for a few minutes. And but I did want to thank you for giving me the time to share to the world of what's still going on that we quote. You know, unfortunately, there's so much shit going on in the world. It's like every day. It's like it's this is not normal. This is not. Yeah, you can't. But again, I thank you both, and we'll, believe me, we got to talk more. You Spice just alone, just the whole being Spice is a show in itself.
Yeah, I know my world's unique and different. But thank you.
Paul,
thanks for having me. It's been a great show.
No, it's my pleasure, and I'm sure we're going to get a lot out of this, I hope. And Paul, you're another to be continued, because there's more depth into all this that we just can't get to right now, but we will. So sit tight, and again, say goodbye to everybody, and you will return. I mean, it's just that simple. I hope, if you're willing, in the future. So, all right, thank you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, aloha everybody. Thanks, and lots of love from Maui. So thanks so much.
There you go. All right. The truth right there, folks. And believe me, there's way more truth that's going to come out. I can only hope sooner than later. I want to thank everybody for watching Life of Peter G, The Peter G Show. I hope you enjoyed, and this information was something going, wow, you know, because again, how quickly we forget. And I say it a million times, if it doesn't happen in your area, it doesn't affect you, so you don't pay as much attention, but this can happen to you. And lately it's been happening in these crazy places that people aren't aware of, but this is what we do, all right? We're all trying to take care of each other, because life is short. Don't forget, next week, please, 300th show anniversary, kind of, sort of. I used to have a big shindig about the 100th anniversary show, and it's 200, but I'm going to put it casual. We're just going to take calls. Tell me what you think. You hate me. You know, you love me. What's your problem? You broke up with your girlfriend. I'm going to probably turn the phones on, let you call if you're willing to call, and or read your comments and talk. But we're going to sit back casual and just appreciate the fact that we're here, period. I thank God every day for me being able to wake up, and then, you know, whatever happens. Just learn how to, you know, it's not what happens, it's how you deal with what happens, I guess. All right. Don't forget, please share, subscribe. Please share, follow. All that helps. I'm being back, you know, shadow banned, throttled back, you name it, canceled, scolded, put on suspensions. YouTube, you know, just slaps me down. I can do it if you hang in there with me and just keep on sharing, and, you know, because we're stronger in other places, but I want to reach everybody. It's important. So please just share. Don't forget, you can take the show on the road with you if you can't sit and watch. I know it takes a lot of dedication. We're almost at 2 hours right now. Okay. Please put an earbud in your ear, Google Peter G Show podcast, listen to it while you're exercising, working, driving, commuting. A lot of people spend a lot of time in their cars. Okay. And I understand that. Good information. And also, don't forget, and Doug says real quick, thanks. You're welcome. See, somebody got something out of it, and I'm sure many more will, because the show lives on. You can watch the show on demand. I love the ones that watch while it's live, but all these shows are everywhere to watch, on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram's only the shorts, TikTok's only the shorts, but all those 11 different platforms. Just Google Peter G Show. I'm having a mind blank right now because I got so much. I'm just in awe over the information that just came out onto this show now. So thank you, and thank you, gentlemen. My name is Peter G. I'm going to remind you, with all this chaos and everything that's going on, be kind. Take a deep breath. The world is uptight, and they want you like that. But the minute you get poked, take a breath, think before you speak. I'm living proof of it. I'm learning every day. You don't have to be taking a lot of crap from people, but you don't have to be an ass either. You don't know what one person is going through when they're lashing out or when things are going wrong. Take that breath and be kind. That's all. I mean, as I'm getting older, I'm just getting more and more open to giving a shit, I guess. You know, you just become more receptive to people and their feelings. Life's tough, but life is also short, and I want you to be happy. That's it. All right. We'll see you next week at our 300th live show anniversary. Don't forget, we have over 400 shows. I'll take it. But that's basically it. My name is Peter G. Thank you for watching Life with Peter G. Every Wednesday like clockwork, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, and 9 p.m. on the East Coast. God willing. Still here. I love you guys. Peace out.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, divorced dad, single dad, divorced dad, single dad, Peter G Show.